you're rooting around looking for IPs to release, and do you ever? I'm sure you do. Like, how are you dealing with rights issues? Like, I feel like that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of people like complain. Oh, like Nintendo Online, they don't put out enough games, or Microsoft sort of like giving up on backwards compatibility. But I think a lot of the reason is it's just really too complicated to figure out who owns what. Like, I've heard in some cases, like especially in Japan, sometimes these Japanese companies will give the rights to the character or the score of the game to an employee, and you have to go find that person.
Yeah, I mean, I hate when I watch like an old TV show and the music is all different, right? 'Cause
yeah.
someone can get the rights. Or the heavy metal movie, it took them like 20 years to release because they couldn't figure out the audio rights. I think like for Croc, Argonaut owned everything.
Yeah, that was easy.
So it was, no problem there. I mean, even when I worked on Battlezone, there was nothing that, even the music we knew was a buyout because I did the deal when I did it the original time. I do think on some future projects, sometimes you're going to run into rights issues.
Yeah.
I think the answer is like, we have a lawyer and we let him, sometimes it's going to be a judgment call, right? Like, hey, we don't know if we own this, but we also don't know if anyone else knows. I worked on a game at Zono, and it was a really like popular game at the time. I can't say. And I knew that it was published by someone, and I knew that where the rights ended up. But when I called them and said I wanted to buy the rights back, they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. And 10 years later, somebody came to me and said, I want to buy these rights. And I didn't own the company anymore. And I told them, look, they don't really own that. But he was just happy to have someone sign a paper, because it was like 20, 30 years later, sometimes those companies are out of business.
Oh, yeah.
Or they've been acquired 3 times, and like the contract that says who owns it was on paper. 30 years later, where's that paper?
Yeah, I've seen this a lot lately. Like, I know people who are rooting around trying to pick up old IPs, and there's just, there's no proof that anybody owns anything. I
mean, didn't id say that when they did Castle Wolfenstein, they just said, fuck it, like, we'll see if someone comes after us?
Well, that's what I think they should do with No One Lives Forever. Everybody always talks about that. That's the great classic, nobody knows who owns it.
It's not. I know exactly who owns it.
Oh, you know who owns it, so why is it not?
They know who owns it.
Oh, okay.
I know someone who worked there, and he got all the contracts and sat and looked at the contracts, and they know who owns it. But I do know, when Night Dive tried to get it originally, the 3 people who might have owned it, if you do a little bit of a stretch of, well, they did this and they owned that, and then this was the publishing deal, they all basically said to him, we don't know if we own this or not, but we'll have to protect it. So if you try to do it, we'll sue you. And that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, like, don't they want to make money? I mean, why don't they just be like, sure.
But if you dig into it, it's very clear, and they know that they own it. So I'm not sure why it hasn't.
Maybe it's just not a big enough.
Well, there's always this thing. It's like with EA. For years, EA wouldn't license any of their old stuff. And there's so many old, black and white. Why isn't there a new black and white? Right?
Yeah, or Dungeon Keeper.
Yeah. And the reason is because they just have a full...
Or Populous. I mean, they could do a new Populous right now.
Populous, yeah. I mean, I go back. I play Populous like once a year. Like, that's such a great game. But because it's worth nothing to them. But the potential, someday they're going to decide to do it. Who wants to be the guy? Imagine, somebody's like, I have this amazing idea. We're going to make a multi-billion-dollar franchise. I just need the Populous IP. And like, oh, sorry, we sold that to Flarb last year.
Yeah.
Who wants to be the schmuck that when I was talking to Atari, this was like, I don't know, 2000 something, right? And they were like, oh, we really want to do this game with you guys. And then they're like, it didn't work out. It was Dungeons and Dragons. And like, could you put another IP on it? And I said, what do you have? And they said, do you want to do XCOM? And I was like, yeah, fuck. So we do a whole pitch, we do all the art, we do this whole big thing. And they were like, this is amazing. Oh, we didn't know we sold this to Sid Meier last year. It was like...
That's why I don't believe in elaborate pitches. Like, my pitches are now just text.
I'm glad they sold it to Sid Meier because the new XCOM was amazing.
Oh, so this is back then?
Yeah, this was before any of that ever happened. Okay. Right? This was, it was a PSP game.
Oh, so, yeah.
And it would have been a great game, but Atari just like, it was a different, right? That was...
Yeah, it's like the third iteration of Atari.
Yeah, that was what was his name? I forgot his name, the French guy that ran Atari.
Yeah.